Hi, I'm Jay Beaumont and we're here today at the Sundowner Caravan Park to talk to some of Port Macquarie's most iconic surfers from the 70s in the lead up to Morning of the Earth. How did you get into surfing?
Well, I got into surfing back in about 1966. I had a few mates of mine were just sort of going down the beach body surfing all the time, and we just decided to get on the boards and just went from there. Yeah, and the thrill was just got us straight away.
I was about 9 years of age. I was walking along the beach at Town Beach because I'm a Port Macquarie local, and it was after big floods, and one of the guys had broken his balsa board in half, so I ended up with a 7'2" balsa board which Dad then made into a surfboard, and I started surfing at 9 years of age. Haven't stopped yet.
I got into surfing through a cousin of mine. Those guys had 10 years on me, so I was, around about 14 or 15, and it was through them going to the beach and living in Port Macquarie. That's all you did. Weekends you went to the beach, and it sort of progressed from there,
I'd say my most memorable session was probably surfing out here before the North Wall was built. We used to surf out in the bar, right out in the river mouth out here. It was really big one time, and myself and two other guys were out there, and it was just huge. And days before leg wraps, I lost my board, never found it again, and we had to swim back. And for about 3 hours later, we finally got back, and we're right round in the following beach, Oxley Beach, and it was that big we couldn't come in there, so we had to swim back around the point, and finally got in. We thought, oh God, that was a bit hectic, It was an awesome session, just one of the best.
Oh, there's quite a few actually. There's a couple of in Gary. There's one at Shelley Beach Point in Port Macquarie here when it was probably around 8 foot when I was only a young bloke. That was pretty exciting because in those days we didn't have leg ropes. Leg ropes probably started in about 72, 73, so if you fell off in those days, your board just went straight up the rocks, and you had to spend the next day fixing it.
I guess from back then, it'd have to be a session. We used to paddle the river here over the North Shore before they built North Wall, and we'd walk probably a couple of k's up the beach, just a few mates and I. And I guess the most memorable session was somewhere in like 78, when we stood up here at Lions Lookout and just seen a perfect beach break up the beach, and we paddled the river and walked across there, box of matches, lit a fire on the beach, and just hung there all day. Come home sunburned, hungry, and had to walk home for a feed.
My most vivid memory of the 70s, just the freedom of the 70s. The 70s was just like so laid back. You could do what you want to do, drive a car pissed or go out and just have a good time. It was just no holds barred. It was just like that. The 70s was cool.
Vivid memories from the 70s. Oh, there's quite a few to remember, but I remember seeing, I think, Tem and Shud at Nambuck Head's surf club.
I think the 70s for me was all about trying to score a ride to the beach. Like most of the local guys that surfed here in the 70s, like Bobby and Hutto's age, they all had licences, so the best thing for me was to get up at the crack of dawn and get on the side of the road at Town Beach and stick your thumb out, and whoever picked you up first would take you surfing, and that might be from, between Plummer or Laurelton. So if you were there first, you got a ride, and that for me sort of summed up the 70s.
My memories of Morning of the Earth, well, originally I saw Morning of the Earth when it first came out at the old Rich Theatre in Port Macquarie. They brought the movie around, and got all the hype and everything. We all went there. We were throwing jaffas down the aisles and all that sort of rubbish in it. But it was just unreal, and it just blew everyone away because it depicted the era so well. We all rocked up there. We had hair right down our backs. We were just a typical surfers, just as the movie depicts. We were there.
Yeah, Morning of the Earth, Angari, Batty to Law out there, 5 to 6 foot, great waves, southwest wind, absolutely fantastic.
A memory of Morning the Earth, I didn't see it when it first came out in 72, but I think a couple of years later it did tour and come back through the old Rich Cinema here in Port. So we as a community, you'd see everyone that surfed at those movies, so I guess You know, the Ritz Cinema then was the icon of, you know, the early surf movie days. You know, there's really nowhere else to see them back then.
And I've seen the rehash of the whole thing in Sydney. I went down to the State Theatre when it first came out and loved it, just loved it, it was great. I thought, you know, you couldn't think of anything better.